Namaste, my dear friends, and welcome back to the JavaScript series. Today, I'm going to be exploring an extremely important concept which every single JavaScript developer uses on a day to day basis, which is the concept of JSON or JavaScript Object Notation and the Fetch API. Now, if you don't understand JSON and Fetch API, you cannot do any coding in today's world. Especially JSON is important not only for a JavaScript developer, it is important for a Java developer, for a Python developer, for a C# developer, for a C++ developer, even for a PHP developer, because it is using JSON that the internet is communicating with each other. What do I mean by this? I will explain. But for now, let me keep the Fetch API aside and focus only on JSON. To understand why JSON exists, first I would like to explain a non-technical scenario through which you'll understand the requirement for JSON much better. Let me tell you a story which will perfectly show you why JSON is so important. My friends, we are going back to 1950s. Imagine the extremely busy port of New York and San Francisco. Imagine this, a ship arrives from overseas and the dock is in complete chaos. Why? Because the workers are busy unloading the cargo in the ship piece by piece. And in this cargo, there is wooden crates of different sizes. There is sacks of coffee beans, etc., of different sizes. There is barrels of oil and different shaped parts of different machines. Now, each item here has to be handled in a different manner. The crates need one type of equipment. The barrels need a different type of equipment. Some items are fragile and can be broken, while others can be kept one on top of another or can be stacked. Now, because of this differently shaped size of goods, it used to take days to unload a single ship. Now, imagine you're a merchant. For you to do trading, it becomes so difficult because for the ship, you have to pack your goods differently. After your goods have been unloaded from the ship, now for it to go in a truck, it has to be again packed differently. Now, because of this need of unpacking and repacking, and because every port and every transportation company has its own way of doing things, it used to take you a lot of time just to get your product from point A to point B, and shipping used to take a lot of time, not like today. Then what happened is, in 1956, an entrepreneur named Malcolm McLean had a brilliant idea. He imagined, hey, what if I used standardized metal containers? Every container would be of the same size. It will have the same lifting points, the same locking mechanisms, and whenever you're shipping televisions or clothes, everything goes inside the same standard container. Now, this was a huge revolution because the transformation was immediate. Suddenly, a crane in New York could lift a container using the same technique as a crane in London or Tokyo or in China. A container could move from ship to train to truck without ever being opened. Loading and unloading times dropped from days to hours. Damage and robbery reduced. The cost of shipping reduced by over 90%. Now, this kind of revolution is what JSON also bought when two software systems are trying to interact with each other. What do I mean? Let me explain. The problem which the shipping industry was facing, the same problem the software industry also was facing. How do you say that, Rohit sir, you may ask? Very simple. Let's take an example. Let us assume we have two different software systems, okay? Let us take the example of an e-commerce website like Amazon. Now, let us assume somebody goes to Amazon and starts to shop. Now, to their cart, they buy a book, they add it. Then to the same cart, they buy a wireless mouse and they add it. Once this is done, Amazon calculates their total, like what is their subtotal, tax, some discount, etc., put together, how much they have to pay. But now Amazon can't accept payment. Now, payment is accepted by a payment aggregator system such as Razorpay. Now, Razorpay is a different software system Amazon is a different software system. Razorpay could be built using different technologies. Amazon could be built using different technologies. Now the problem is two different systems which is built using two different technologies now have to communicate with each other. Now to do that, what Amazon will do is, let us assume Amazon sends the data like this to Razorpay. Now, what should Razorpay understand from this data? What is the first piece of data? How should it understand? What is the second piece of data? Is it cart ID? Is it product ID? Which is tax? Which is total? Which is discount? Nothing is clear, right? This format is not clear. Because the format is not clear, Razorpay is not going to understand, and hence it is going to reject the payment. Now, because of the two different software systems not able to communicate in a standardized way, lot of problems used to happen in the software industry because two different systems have to communicate. Let me give you another example. Let us assume you take your phone. In every phone, we have a widget called as the weather widget, right? Or a weather app which shows us the weather. But obviously, your phone is not a satellite which can measure the weather. So, obviously, there is a different software system which is a weather system which is actually measuring the weather. Now, your phone's widget should communicate with a different software system to fetch data. Now, this could be made using, say, if it is an iPhone, Swift, or if it's an Android app, Kotlin, it could be developed using a different software. Now, your weather app could be designed using either Java or PHP or JavaScript, we don't know. They're two different technologies, but now they need to communicate. Now, let us assume when your weather app asks for data, the weather app sends data like this. Now, when you look at this data, how should your phone's widget understand what is New York? What is 72F? What is partly cloudy? What is 45%? Is it humidity? What is it? How do you understand? The format doesn't make any sense. Because of this format not making sense, they can't communicate. I can keep giving you example on example like this, but please try to understand. I hope you got the picture that because of the lack of standardization of communication, there was a lot of problems for two systems to communicate. I'll give you one more example. Nowadays, everybody is wearing these fitness tracker equipments. For example, let us assume somebody is wearing Fitbit. Now, this Fitbit is going to track your pulse, your sleep, a lot of different things, the number of steps, etc. And it is going to communicate it to the health app in your phone. Now, imagine the Fitbit sends data to the phone like this. Now, when you look at this data, how should you know what is the date, what is the time, what is steps, when you say 45 minutes, what is that? 45 minutes of what? What is the step count? Nothing makes sense. This format makes no sense. And hence, I hope you understood that whenever two different software systems want to communicate with each other, if there is no standardized format for communication, issues will happen. Like how in the shipping example, different goods were coming in different shapes and size and crates and bundles and sacks. Like this, different software systems were talking in different formats. No standardization, and it was a headache to get two systems to communicate. And that is why they introduced a concept called as JSON. That is why they introduced a concept called as JSON. Now, please try to understand JSON, the full form is JavaScript Object Notation. Why this has come is because those of you who've been attending classes regularly, long back when I taught you objects in JavaScript, I told you one way to create objects in JavaScript is called as the JavaScript Object Literal, which will have these brackets with a semicolon. And what is a JavaScript object? It is key value pairs. Now, if you look at a JSON, JSON also will look exactly like your JavaScript object notation. It will have these curly braces with a semicolon and comma separated key value pairs like this. And this format is the standard way for two software systems to communicate. Java also understands JSON. Python also understands JSON. JavaScript obviously understands JSON. Swift also understands. Kotlin also understands. So irrespective of what technology the system is created in, all the technologies recognize and accept the JSON format. Now let me give you just one example of how the weather app will be communicating with your phone and how it will communicate in JSON. Watch it. Now let me give you an example, all right? So let us assume this is our weather app widget. This is our weather system, right? Now, the widget wants the data from the weather app. See how it will now communicate using JSON. So the JSON format is very simple. It's just like a JavaScript object, key value pairs. Now, the first point about JSON is keys should always be within double quotes. So what it will do is the key, it will make it as double quotes location or a string location. And its value, now the value can be anything you want, any data type that you want. It can be number, it can be boolean, it can be an object, it can be an array, it can be anything you want, right? In this case, obviously the location is going to be the name of a place. Name of a place is going to be string. So the value also will be a string within double quotes, assume New York, comma. Now the next key value pair. Next, it will make the key as temperature like this. And it will give a value, for example, 72. Then the next key is going to be double quotes unit. Value is going to be Fahrenheit. Next key is going to be conditions. Then it's going to be partly cloudy. Then the key is going to be humidity, and that is going to be 45, a number. Next, it's going to be last updated, and then it's going to have the date and the time when it was last updated. So now you can see this format is so much better because now when your widget app looks like this, every programming language or every technology in the world recognizes JSON, and hence it understands that the left side are all double quotes are keys, and keys tell you what the data is about. And obviously right side is value. So when it sees location, it knows that the value is location, place, temperature, unit, all of that. And this is how they communicate. Similarly, I'll just remove this. Amazon Razorpay. The JSON will look like this. Now Razorpay will understand what Amazon is communicating. Similarly, your Fitbit and your Health app. Now Fitbit will communicate in JSON like this. Health app will understand each of the information. So it doesn't matter which system you are using. Every system recognizes JSON, and hence JSON is the universal format through which two software systems interact with each other by passing data to each other. Very, very important concept. And how they interact with each other and how they pass data with each other, the format is JSON, but how they do it is using a concept called as API. Now, if you want to understand how APIs work, I will explain it throughout this course. But if you want a quick introduction to APIs, I highly recommend you to watch this video where I've told what is an API and how it works in depth. Watch it, you'll understand it carefully. Any which ways, if you've understood this much, now let us go and explore the JSON format a little bit more by writing some code so that you understand once a software gets JSON, how it can extract information out of it. Alright, my friend, now let's write some code to understand JSON better. Now let us assume you, as your weather app on your mobile, has now requested the weather system for the weather data. Now, what it is going to send is JSON. I agree. The format is JSON. But what it is going to send you is not a JavaScript object. Instead, it is going to send you a string inside which there will be JSON. We didn't understand. Let me give you an example. For example, this is what the weather data you will get. If you notice, starts with double quotes, ends with double quotes means what? It's a string. Within the string, this is JSON only, where you can see key within double quotes, value, key, value, key, value pairs. Now, if you want to work with this in your program, there are a couple of steps. First, you should convert this string into a JSON object, into a JavaScript object. Only then you can work with the data, you can fetch the data. How do you do that? That is quite simple. All you need to do is, there are built-in functions or methods for it. All I need to do is, I need to say JSON dot. And here, if you notice, JSON dot, all I need to do is parse. To parse, I will pass this sample weather data. Now, what will parse do? Parse will convert this string version into a proper JavaScript object with key value pairs. Whatever it gives me, I will be storing it within a variable. Let us call it as parsed data. And this, I will just make it as const because I don't want its value to change. That's just a good coding practice. You can say let also, where also, no problem. Next one. Now, I just want to print this out and show you. Now, if I say console.log, and if in case I now say parsed data, I want all of you to look at the output. If I were to go execute this, now you can see clearly it has become a proper JavaScript object, inside which key is location, right? Value, as you can clearly see, has now become again an object, inside which city San Francisco, country is USA. So I told you, in JavaScript objects, I already told you, you will have key value pairs. Key can be anything. Now, just so that this doesn't cover my face, I'm removing it. Key is location, okay? On this side, the value can be an object, value can be an array, value can be a number, value can be a boolean. And if you're confused about any of this, go back to the JavaScript playlist, go to that object orientation lecture. I've explained everything about objects there. So clearly one can notice. Next, comma. What is the next key? Current. The value is another object, inside which again your key value pairs. Temperature 68, feels like 70, humidity 75, condition sunny, icon sun. Comma. What is the next key? Daily. That has now become, the value is an array. Inside an array, there are two objects, array of objects. One object, day, today, high. But if you look at what was sent to us, was a string. Inside pure JSON, see now this is a JavaScript object. Pure JSON, keys will always be strings. Keys will always be strings. But in your JavaScript object, there is no rule that keys have to be strings. But JSON, that is the case. Understand what I'm trying to say? So this is now converted to this. Am I clear till here, my dear friends? Awesome. Now what you want is, for example, let us assume you want details about this location. Now this is a JavaScript object. For that object, you have given a reference. What is the reference? Parsed data. Now you can see parsed data dot location. Now you will get all these details. Now if you say parsed data dot location, inside that further dot city, you will get San Francisco. Let me show that to you so that you understand it better. Now I'm keeping that thing as reference for you. Now see console.log. Now if I just say parsed data dot. Now inside this, if I go, and if in case I were to say location. Now if I just go, clear the screen and execute it for you, you got this. Now inside this you want city. Now you just say dot location dot city. Now if in case I were to go here, clear the screen and execute, you got San Francisco. Let us assume you want the high. Now try to understand how will you do this. That's very simple. So I'll just clear the screen, come here, I'll just duplicate this line. Now all of you should understand how I will be writing this code. Actually, let me just execute it once. Now watch this carefully. Parsed data dot. What do you want to know about? Daily. So I will go and say dot daily. Dot daily. Now, in that if I say dot, I'll come here. Now, what is this? This is an array. Now, if you are focused on arrays, you know every array element has an index. This object is the first element, this object is the second element. So, this is index 1, this is index 2. So, I'll come here and say daily of 0 means first index. In that first index, this is an object. In that object, what is the key? Day. So, I will say dot and I will say day. So parsed data dot daily in that 0th index inside that object day. If I now tell or we don't want day, let us assume we want high. We want high. That's 72 I want. Now if I were to clear the screen and execute it, clearly you got 72. Like this, I wanted to experiment. So basically all I'm trying to tell you is that when you ask or fetch data from a system via an API, the system will return JSON to you. Now JSON will be within a string. So this is called as a stringified JSON. So you have to convert that JSON into a different format which you can work with. And I have converted it into a JavaScript object. How did I do it? Very simple. JSON.parse. That's it. JSON.parse. I hope this much clarity everybody has got. Beautiful. Now please try to understand, whenever two systems are interacting with each other, it is not that only one system will give data and the other system will keep quiet. Now the weather system gave me data. Now I also need to give some data back to the weather system saying that, yes, I've got the data you said. Response was okay. Understood? Now, how are we going to do that? That is very simple. Let us assume, friends, now I am going to send some data back. How? So I will, first of all, what it understands is JSON, right? So see what I will do. I'll go here and create one JavaScript object. Inside that, it's key value pairs. So here I'll go and say success is one key, and there the value is true. Yes, it was successful. Then the next thing that I'm going to be sending is, I'll send one message maybe. In that, I will say message is the key, value will be a string, data received, like this. Let us assume. Now, this is a proper JavaScript object, right? Now, I'll give this a reference. I'll call it as const response, like this. Response. Clear? Now, this is a JavaScript object, key value pairs. Now, you can't send a JavaScript object via the network, via the internet, you can't send. What you need to send is a stringified JSON. What you need to send is a stringified JSON. So I should convert my JavaScript object into JSON, which is within a string. Stringified JSON. Now, how do you do that? That is very simple. Again, I'll go here and say JSON dot. There is a built-in method called as stringify. What do you want to stringify? I want to stringify this response. Whatever I've stringified, I will go here and I will now store it inside one constant variable called as JSON string. Understood? Next, I want to print it. So I will say console.log and I will be printing this JSON string for your reference. And now, if in case I were to execute, all of you should see, this is the stringified JSON. So you can see here I didn't put double quotes, but it converted it into double quotes. Because in JSON, what is the first rule? Keys should always be strings within double quote. Message was converted into double quotes. And ultimately, please understand, this is a string. It is further within double quotes. Now, this is what I will take and via the network send it to my, the weather system. Weather system will know, oh, this fellow had requested for data, it was successful. Now, all this is what usually I teach in the backend classes. Maybe I may not be putting everything on YouTube because of time, etc. But I am planning for a live, weekend batch for JavaScript where I'll be teaching React, where I'll be teaching backend, and most importantly, I'll be teaching how to develop apps with AI. Because the only skill worth learning, my friends, is how to develop with AI. Because earlier, programming used to happen in something called as assembly, like this. Then programming turned into something called as high level, which looked like this. Now programming is turning into English, which will look like this. So if you are not able to leverage AI systems, understand system design, understand components, how they interact, create architecture, and build beautiful products, most probably you will not have a job. And if you are in first or second year of engineering, 100% by the time you graduate, you will never have a job. When I say no job, the jobs of today will not exist. It would have got transformed and you should be ready for that as well. Okay. Anyways, More about that sometime later I will speak. I hope all of you enjoyed whatever was discussed today, which is primarily about JSON and its need. Now, I will end the discussion here. If you like it, like, subscribe, and comment as usual. It really makes my day. In the next class, we will be exploring the fetch API, and for that, JSON was important. Anyways, keep coding, stay happy, take care, bye bye.